All right, here is the
So we are here again.
video that I've been requested to make by several people, an Arch Linux installation guide. Let's get started. First thing we'll need, of course, is our Arch Linux ISO, which you can download from archlinux.org/download. Like most Linux distros, they do offer a BitTorrent option for downloading it, which is what I recommend you use. Also, be sure to seed if you have bandwidth available. If you don't want to do that, though, there's plenty of mirrors that you can download from as well. You can pick your country to make sure that you get a fast download speed. Once we have our ISO, come on over to VirtualBox. Bandwidth of downloading it, which is what I recommend you use. Also, be sure to seed if you have bandwidth available. If you don't want to do that, though, there's plenty of mirrors that you can download from as well. You can pick your country to make sure that you get a fast download.
We have decided to go with Arch Linux only. So I'll just go ahead and download it. Of course, you download the stabilities. I need to learn to speak on the screen, right?
load speed. Once we have our ISO, come on over to VirtualBox. And as always, the steps that I'm going to show you in VirtualBox are pretty much identical to the steps needed to deploy this to hardware. The only difference is you'll have to create a bootable USB with and boot from that instead of booting from a virtual CD drive. But once you're booted from USB, the steps I'm going to show you are going to be pretty much the same for deploying it to hardware or in a virtual machine.
I need the USB. I think I have, but I need to ask you.
So in VirtualBox, I'm going to click New, and I'm going to call this Arch Linux, and it should have automatically chosen the correct type and the correct version, Arch Linux 64-bit. And then I'm going to crank up the memory to 4 gigs. Now, this isn't really necessary depending on what you're going to be doing in Arch. I mean, the base amount of RAM that Arch would need is only about 1 gig, and that's only if you're going to be using a desktop environment, because Arch is a minimalist distro, so you could definitely get away with less memory than this. And create a virtual hard disk. I'm going to make it VDI. No. Drag it on to this one. So this is the screen that you'll be greeted with when you first boot Arch Linux. The option you want to choose is Boot Arch Linux. And it's going to load everything up for us. And it's going to drop us into a you want to choose is Boot Arch Linux, and it's going to load everything up for us. And it's going to drop us into a root shell. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our internet is working. So go ahead and ping a website to see if you get a response back. And of course, I know my internet is good because I'm on a virtual adapter. Now, if you're installing this to hardware, and this advice really goes for any Linux distribution that you want to install, when you want to have it on a PC or laptop, try to connect that computer over an Ethernet connection, because Ethernet tends to just work and it's a lot less of a hassle. Now, if you don't have physical access to your router, or you bought a Zoomer laptop that doesn't have an RJ45 port, first of all, you fucked up by doing that.
This is the Ethernet port. No. Ethernet will also out of the box, but I already have Wi-Fi. So how it like
But the Arch devs, they have your back. You can use this command, laptop that connect or laptop, try to connect that computer over an Ethernet connection, because Ethernet tends to just work and it's a lot less of a hassle. Now, if you don't have physical access to your router, or you bought a Zoomer laptop that doesn't have an RJ45 port, first of all, you fucked up by doing that, but the Arch devs, they have your back. You can use this command, Wi-Fi menu, which won't work on my system because it's a VM that doesn't have Wi-Fi. But on a laptop, this will produce an ncurses menu for you to navigate and then connect to your Wi-Fi network.
Any purchase is the uh, that outdated GUI you see on the terminal. Yeah, like this. If you don't have internet, you are not fond of ICCS.
So
My laptop cannot handle all.
it's really important to make sure that we choose the right disk to partition though, because if you format the wrong one that has your Windows partition or another Linux partition or even just a data drive with no OS on it, then you're going to end up nuking all of your data. So pay close attention to the name column.
Should I buy a new network card? What do you think, chat? Okay, say system for 7 or digital time zone map conference NTT. Okay. NTT takes yeah, I control the network times in I know. So now you know what he did when he wrote time date details at NTT 2. more name. How?
And the size column. You should try and figure out ahead of time what disk name you want to install to and what size it is, so you can double check all of that here.
These are all the steps that you take when you install a Linux distro. I mean, it is prompted to you if you install Manjaro. Here you have to do it by yourself. So you might be familiar with all of this, but you have to do them by yourself. My laptop just
I already know that SDA is the disk that I want, so it should also be the same disk for you if you're following along in VirtualBox. So I'm going to cfdisk dev SDA. And the first thing we need to set is the label type. Now this confuses a lot of novice users, but I'll give you the most straightforward explanation I can. If you're installing Arch to a newer physical system, meaning not a virtualized environment like this, and the disk you're installing to is larger than 2 terabytes, then you'll want to use GPT. If you don't have both of those conditions in your computer,
I think it is using the my mobile phone's mic. I'm not sure. Let's check that out. अंग्रेजी में काहे बात कर रहे हैं हम तुमसे चलो बताओ कहाँ से कर सकते हैं
a newer physical system, cfdisk dev SDA. And the first thing, so I'm going to cfdisk dev SDA.
Well, my laptop isn't able to support all of this, so I think we should leave here. I'll watch the video and